happening. Some of the hedge funds, some of the kind of PVC firms are actually making algorithms sit in the boardrooms taking decisions on the behalf of the board or along with the board, because so much of crunching data has gone into the last 20-25 years, which has made the machine very able. Now, what is important today is that just like careers and relationship, if I call it relationship that way, AI is a marathon, not a 100-meter sprint.
In my experience, one of the primary challenges that organizations come across is, like Gaurav said, that let's collect the data and harmonize and all of that. And organizations have spent millions of dollars trying to build sustainable data platforms, at least they call it sustainable. What happens is, when you are talking about decisions from data, the businesses or the business leads, they are very clear on the objectives of the top line KPIs that they want to drive. Now, if they come and say that, okay, what is my data saying if I have to make a decision on where should I spend my next $100,000 or $1 million in terms of marketing spend, which are the right channels? I'm taking one of such examples, right? It really translates into that business requirement needs to get translated into something we call as analytical requirement, which then gets translated into an analytical solution, and then it gets translated into a final business solution, which is that automated solution which can be consumed by a non-technical business user.
So, we talk about data very loosely. Data isn't one kind, right? So, for example, I'll take an analogy here. When you talk about, let's say, a video, that is one data. Something that actually describes the video is called metadata. That's the second kind of data. The third kind of data is that video, let's say, is being played on YouTube. YouTube generates something called telemetry data as a result of operating let's say, video over there.
Telemetry data would be?
Telemetry is when a system is operating, it is spewing out some exhaust. That exhaust that it spews out is telemetry data, right? So essentially, just the data itself is classified into the core data, right? The metadata that describes the data, and telemetry that actually helps, or when a system is running or working with this data, right, in a real system, that system is actually spewing out some telemetry data, which is an exhaust, right? How you handle each of them, by the way, first of all, the characteristics of each of them are very different, right? And how you then handle them and what techniques that you actually apply, right, to gain insights from that, and what can, let's say, for example, can the video itself, if you just analyze that, it's video is about the content itself. You can actually say, hey, this video is about a lecture about, let's say, an algorithm being described in a class setting, right? That's the content of it, right? Whereas the metadata can describe about, hey, when was this video taken? High resolution, low resolution, right? It's not about the content. It's about describing when was the video taken, right? And or when was it recorded, or resolution of the recording and stuff like that, right? And then each time the recording is played back, you actually have telemetry that actually gets produced, right? So each time it's played back, telemetry is being produced, right?
What data could that be?
So that would be that, hey, Sujit went to that video, played, seeked forward 30 minutes, played for 3 minutes, and then came back 3 days later and then played again.
Got it.
Right? So all that is really how you're interacting with that data, core data, right? Is really telemetry data, right? Different people and different organizations and different roles will have, will play with each of these classes of data differently. Right? So for example, a person in the sales organization, so for example, right, would say, hey, you know what, is this content, by the way, interactive enough? Right? Should I actually be caching this more frequently or not, because it's such a popular video, right? Those decisions, by the way, can be taken by looking at the telemetry information, right? There are others who basically are, hey, you know what, you're not even changing the resolution. Most of the devices that you're playing on are low-res devices. So the metadata actually describes that, right? So why should I actually create 4K video? I'm okay. It's about direct implication to cost, right? I'm saying these are simple, very simple things for description of the kinds of data. Thereafter, how you analyze the data. For example, you must have heard about auto annotating, right? The content itself, right? The auto annotation part is really about, oh, you know what, let me use some interesting, without going to technical details, let me use some interesting AI algorithms and analyze the content, right? But then you can say, hey, you know what, Prinkan talked about, hey, you know what, recommendations. Hey, which other video is linked to this video, right? And which would you want to play next is all metadata. And telemetry is all about, and you can create graphs, literally graphs, which is connected to what, right? That graph, by the way, is nothing but context and intelligence. Any graph, the more you link data up, what did Google do? It linked data of the web, right? So the more you link data up, it becomes a source of intelligence, right? And linked data and source of intelligence can then help with deeper insights.
When we are talking about enterprises and applying some of these innovations which can do wonders, we have to always be careful because that has a significant impact on the brand, on the customers of that using that brand, and therefore there has to be certain kind of guardrail, certain kind of governance, certain kind of I would say strategies around democratization to a larger piece of the organization or to the end users when you are particularly implementing it for an enterprise.
Privacy sensitive information. Should I be sending this data outside a certain domain? Should that person, by the way, be consuming this data at all to create his model? Once the model is created, that has, by the way, information which is private to me, right? Is that allowed or not, right? Ethics play in.
I think the biggest challenge, Sujit, is not about AI systems being curated. The biggest challenge is the adoption. 1 out of 7 algorithms gets adopted. 6 of them, for whatever reason, doesn't get adopted or they get aborted. Efforts are the same, by the way, to build those algorithms, 7 of them. And I take that particular
within
case.
an enterprise, if they are developing.
Within an enterprise, that's the thumb rule. As practitioners, we know that kind of a thing. But here is the challenge. Why does it happen that algorithms or these AI systems put into the practice do not see the desired or the requisite results? And there is an answer to that. AI essentially is a black box. Doesn't have any emotions or patterns as such which it can forecast on its own. Now, I'll give an example. I don't want to name that company. A very large payment gateway uses AI to really what I call detect frauds, because they have those point of sale transactions, millions of that happening every second across the globe. And they have 3 seconds on that POS machine to detect a fraud. Now, they still deployed a cognitive neuroscientist and behavioral scientist to really ask that person, why do frauds happen? It's like going into the minds of the scamsters to really first detect what is the root cause why these frauds are happening, and then put in those AI system for fraud mitigation. So which is where I think that eventually it's a human and AI intelligence which has to work together to give that desired result. Just producing that very glamorous set of systems in AI per se will not work.